And now it's time for our featured interview. America has been in the throes of economic upheaval for quite some time now, with a devalued dollar, collapsing markets, nationalized industries, roller coaster commodities and stocks, and government bailouts at the expense of the American taxpayer, just to name a few. The economic future of America may be the most uncertain it's been since the beginning of our nation's history. Our next guest may have some insight into what is going on and what can be done to help us prepare for what may lie ahead, and it comes from someone that may be surprising to some. A close combat practitioner and black belt trainer, Mr. Gerald Celente. He's the publisher of the internationally circulated TrendsJournal newsletter and the founder of an organization called the TrendsResearchInstitute, which has been around since 1980. He's also the author of the national bestseller Trends 2000 and Trend Tracking from Warner Books. Far better than Megatrends. Mr. Celente, welcome back to the program. In light of the recent events in Boston, how do you see this affecting the global war on terror and the economy in turn?
Well, on the terror issue, the government uses whatever they can to their own purposes to push through what they want. So, for example, when we had the Sandy Hook crisis, the tragedy of some lunatic kid going into the school and killing people, all of a sudden gun control became the issue. Everything that they've done on gun control did absolutely nothing to address the problem of why some lunatic kid went in and killed a bunch of innocent people. So the point being was that they never addressed the cause. Instead, they make regulations that are going to do nothing to solve the problem. For example, with the lunatic kid, we know that he had Asperger's disease and was under medical treatment. What kind of psychotropic drugs was he on that flipped him out? So they're going to use this as well to set their agenda, even though it has nothing to do at this point with anything of a grander scale. So they use fear and hysteria anytime that they can, and to further their agendas.
So would you say it's furthering the reduction of liberty?
Well, that seems to be the agenda at hand. So they use it as an excuse, just like with gun control, to take more rights away from you, although they can't do anything to solve the problem. And the same thing here. I mean, the streets of Boston, from what I saw, from the video that I witnessed, there were cops everywhere. I mean, it wasn't like there wasn't anything there that they were doing that they tried to prevent such an incident. And you can't. You just can't cover all the bases. But knowing that, they'll still take all the rights away. And it relates back to the economy.
Yeah. Now, how do you see that this is going to affect the economy?
Well, that's what I mean. The economy is out of the news. It's gone. Hey, the Dow is down 265, then it down, another couple of hundred. The news coming out of China, wow, that economy's really going down as well. Look what's going on over there in, name the country, Spain, France, Greece, Portugal, Italy. Let's forget about that. Hey, how about the problems going on over there in Syria? Getting worse every day.
What do you think about the recent hit the stock market took, gold and silver took, even Bitcoin took a hit? What is causing this?
Well, I'm saying you're in a collapse. And you began the question by the Boston tragedy. And when I'm saying it takes your mind off all these other issues. Look at the top news of the last couple of days. Other than the Boston tragedy, it's gun control and gay marriage. So it's a diversion. And so when it goes into what's going on with the economy, there's the downward slope that we're on, the unwinnable wars in Iraq. You want to talk? All right, the same day of the Boston tragedy where 3 were killed, 55 were killed in Iraq. Look at the news, it's all there. 12 here, 15 there, 8 here, 7 there. So what I'm saying is the whole system is under collapse. The events are unfolding.
Well, let me just jump in, because I think we can agree that the economic condition globally is very unstable, and for many it's very frightening, with an uncertainty of what the future will bring. Could you please tell us a little bit about what TrendsJournal could do, and your forecasting can do to support individuals in making those decisions on what to do for themselves?
So they could think for themselves. It's the sole purpose of the TrendsJournal, is to put out the information there that people could look at. They decide whether or not it's accurate, it's the truth, is it being shaved for a hidden agenda. They have the information and facts in front of them that they could think for themselves. With the knowledge that we put out, then they can make decisions to prepare themselves for the future. And that's the only way that I see this is going to change.
Now, speaking of the future, you talk about the possibility that the dollar could lose reserve status. For some of our viewers, can you tell us what exactly that means, reserve status, and what it means to the U.S. economy if we actually lose it?
Well, I will do that, but in answering the question, so that each individual is armed with the most amount of knowledge that they could make appropriate decisions, because the higher the level of internal knowledge and belief, then they're not going to accept the road that we're going on down now. And so your next question is really a defensive one rather than an offensive one. How do we change this? So the defensive one is the United States losing its status as a reserve currency. The value of the currency declines when not everyone is only holding on to dollars. They're holding on to yuan, they're holding on to yen, they're holding on to euros, they're holding on to whatever, and gold and silver, because they don't believe in a single currency. It's a debasement. That means that everything that you're going to buy is going to cost you more, not because the value of the product went up, but because the value of the currency declines. So just like it takes you more Zimbabwean dollars to buy a pound of coffee, it takes you more Zimbabwean United States dollars to buy you a cup of coffee.
Now, the administration says that the economy is in recovery and things are getting better. Are we actually on a new path to prosperity as the administration claims? And why would they be making these claims in contrast to what you've just stated to our audience?
Why would anybody ask what the administration thinks when everything that they think has come out wrong? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I need about $1 trillion. Yeah, I'm the new president. And I'm going to put together a stimulus plan that's going to have shovel-ready jobs. And you know what? By 2010, we're going to have the unemployment rate down to 7.2%. Remember that one? Why would anybody believe what they say? How about Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda? How about the fundamentals of the economy are strong? Why would anybody believe one thing that they are saying when everything they say never comes out the way it's supposed to?
Well, let me ask you this. Who are the people that believe what the administration is saying?
The people that can't think for themselves. The people that are so locked into their belief systems that they don't want to admit they're being lied to because they put their hearts into the person that they believed in, that they thought was going to give them hope and change you can believe in. So they don't want to know that they were conned. They don't want to believe in the lie that was told them. That, to me, matter of fact, you asked about the TrendsJournal. That's a major story in the upcoming TrendsJournal that will be out later this week. I don't want to hear it trend. And all the reasons why people don't want to hear what they don't like, by not hearing what they don't like, then they don't do anything.
Gerald, you predicted a number of amazing world events in your career and even predicted the housing collapse. You mentioned on your website the Greatest Depression. What exactly is that, and how do you believe that it will come about?
It's going on. If you live in Greece, you think there's a depression? Over 30% official unemployment. If you live in Spain, you think there's depression? Their numbers are around there too, with over 50% youth unemployment. Unemployment throughout the Eurozone. It's the highest since the Great Depression. Look what's going on in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Yemen, in Syria, in Libya. There's depressions all over the world. Bulgaria, how about Slovenia? How about the United States? How about all the jobs that were lost, the majority since the Panic of '08 hit, were middle wage paying jobs? And how about the ones that are being created now? So they say, oh, the unemployment figures look a lot better. Yeah, but what kind of jobs were produced? I'm not making it up. All mostly low-paying jobs. So what you have is a plantation economy. It's still a Great Depression for a lot of people. Look at the millions that are still losing their homes. We are in the greatest depression. Nothing that the Federal Reserve, Washington, the European Central Bank has promised that has come to fruition. They've only made bad situations worse.
Gerald, we haven't had a chance to talk to you about Cyprus yet, and this is a big headline across the world. What is your analysis of this situation there?
Well, there are a number of them. Number one is something I've been saying for a long time. At any time, in any place, they could call a bank holiday. And if you want to make up a great word that Orwell couldn't have done better, holiday? Let me get this straight. This is no holiday, man. I can't get my money. And you're not going to give it back to me? That's a holiday? And it can happen in a country near you. It happened in the United States in 1933. It's now happened in Cyprus. It's out of the news now. Let's go back and talk more about gay marriage and gun control. Or how about sequestering? So going back to Cyprus, what they did, as you know, people couldn't get their money out of the bank for almost 2 weeks. To me, it was a test to see how far they can go with this. Because when they first came out with a bank holiday, they were going to, quote, tax deposits, steal their money, out of people that were ostensibly insured by the Eurozone banking system. But they were still trying to pull it off. So they pulled it off now for anybody over $100,000. You might as well kiss it goodbye. I think it was a test to see how far they can get, and they did it with a small country first. For example, I mentioned the 1933 Emergency Federal Banking Act that happened in the United States. Roosevelt didn't just call the holiday, with nothing going on. There were bank runs in Michigan before this happened. Michigan was the testing ground. And the same thing to me with Cyprus. And the other important element, as people are jumping out of gold and afraid it's going to continue to go down, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm in it for a very long time, and I'm not getting out of it. Suppose you lived in Cyprus, and you can't get any money because the ATMs aren't putting any out, and the banks are closed. If you had some gold and silver, you think it would have bought you anything? You think it would have gotten you not only what you need or wanted, but a lot more because of the preciousness of it, as compared to more and more worthless pieces of paper? That, to me, is the story of Cyprus.
So Cyprus was a testing ground, and then, of course, we heard that Italy was floating the same idea. Was that also just another word put out to see how Europe would react? And, of course, if the politicians would go ahead and enact those policies?
Yes, it could well have been a trial balloon. And it's getting the people used to it. You get used to it after a while. And so that's what they do. It goes back to how we began the conversation, with fear and hysteria. So that's what the people really need to understand, as I see it, is that you have a cartel, a money changers cartel, and a military cartel that are running the show. The banks are in control of the governments. I'm not making this up. It's in front of everyone's eyes. And the United States is now being turned more and more into a military zone. You're seeing some of the reactions from this Boston tragedy. We need more cameras everywhere. We have to look in on everybody's communications more. So it becomes the reaction. So as I see it, that's where we're heading, unless and again, the importance of the Trends Journal, that the people see the future and take steps to redirect it. And I believe we could have a much brighter future, a much greater future.
And that's what I want to leave our audience with in this interview is, if you were to pass on one bit of advice, one vision of a possible future to this generation, what advice would that be?
That either you create the future that you envision, or someone else is going to do it for you, and you're not going to like it. So we could either rise to greater heights or keep sinking with the way that, quote, they are taking us. And what I'm a proponent of, and something for the younger people to consider, is a renaissance, an appreciation of the greatness of the past. And everybody could badmouth this country as much as they want, but here are some facts. The fact is, one time, this country used to be quality #1. You go back and you look at the architecture, the things that we were building and creating, and now we become a Walmart bottom line society. So a renaissance is a rediscovery of the past, the best of the past, and to bring it into the future. So if the Italians had a great renaissance, and much of Europe that followed got into it, because they used to say at the height of the Renaissance, alle Romana e alla Antica, in the manner of the Romans and the ancients, to describe the quality of their work, I say, let's go back to the greatness of America. Let's look at what made this country great, and every country that you live in that made it great, and bring the best of the past into the future. Because the way we're going now, it's not going to work. And the young people are the ones that can make it happen.
That was Gerald Celente. Always a pleasure to get his insight here on WHDT World News. We do need to take a quick break. Stay tuned right here to WHDT for more.